Arman was an ordinary young man living in a small town. He enjoyed simple things like reading books, listening to music, and spending time with his close friends. One of his oldest friends was Zara. They had known each other since they were children. They went to the same school, shared many memories, and often talked about their dreams for the future. But as they grew older, life pulled them in different directions. They stopped seeing each other as often, and their conversations became less frequent. Yet deep down, Arman always remembered Zara and hoped she was doing well. One evening, Arman was sitting alone in his room, thinking about his childhood and the fun times he had with Zara. He smiled quietly, remembering how she used to laugh, and how they would run around playing without a care in the world. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he heard a soft voice in his mind. It was clear and gentle, and it sounded exactly like Zara. At first, Arman thought he was dreaming or maybe imagining things because he had been very tired lately, but the voice said something very simple. "Hello, Arman." Arman froze for a moment. His heart began to beat faster. Was this real? Was he really hearing Zara's voice inside his mind? He closed his eyes and listened carefully. The voice came. Again, "It's me, Zara." This time it was stronger and more certain. Arman could not believe what was happening. He opened his eyes and looked around the room, but no one was there. It was completely silent, except for the voice in his head. The next day, Arman tried to ignore the strange voice. He thought maybe it was stress or something his brain was doing when he was alone. But that evening, when he thought about Zara again, he heard the voice clearly once more. This time he decided to test it. He thought, "Are you really Zara?" And immediately he heard, "Yes, it's me." The voice was real. It was Zara. Arman was shocked but also curious. He wanted to talk to her, so he thought, "Can you hear me now?" And the voice replied, "Yes, I can hear your thoughts." This was unbelievable. No one had ever told him that such a thing could happen. How was it possible that Zara could hear what he was thinking? And more surprising, how could she talk back to him without speaking aloud? Over the next few days, Arman and Zara began to communicate only through their thoughts. They found that this silent way of talking was different, but also very special. They could share their feelings, ask questions, and tell stories without speaking a word. Arman told Zara how much he missed her and how happy he was to hear her voice again. Zara said she felt the same way. This secret bond between them grew stronger every day. However, Arman was careful. He did not tell anyone about this strange connection. He was afraid people might not believe him or think he was strange. His family noticed he was quieter and more thoughtful, but he said he was just tired or busy. Arman's mind was often filled with Zara's voice, and sometimes it was hard to focus on his daily tasks. Zara was also careful. She did not want to scare anyone or make the connection public. She wondered if this was a gift or something else. Both of them wanted to understand how and why this was happening. They talked about their lives, their dreams, and the challenges they faced. Even though they were apart, this mental connection made them feel close again. One day, Arman thought deeply about their bond and asked Zara, "How do you think this started?" Zara replied that she didn't know, but maybe it was because they had been friends for so long and cared so much for each other. Arman smiled, feeling that their friendship had found a new way to grow. Despite the happiness this brought, Arman sometimes felt confused and worried. His thoughts were no longer private, and he found it hard to stop thinking about Zara. He wanted to enjoy this connection, but also needed space to think about other things. At times, it felt overwhelming to have someone hear all his thoughts, even the small and silly ones. Still, the feeling of hearing Zara's voice inside his mind was comforting. When he was lonely or sad, he would think of her, and she would respond with kind words or encouragement. It was like having a close friend always with him, no matter where he was. The story of Arman and Zara shows how unexpected and mysterious life can be. Sometimes people find connections that are hard to explain, but feel very real. For Arman, hearing Zara's thoughts was the start of a new chapter, filled with wonder, excitement, and questions. It was a reminder that friendship and love can take many forms, even the quiet, invisible ones. After discovering their strange ability to hear each other's thoughts, Arman and Zara began to explore this connection more carefully. At first, it felt strange and new, like stepping into a world they had never seen before. They were surprised, but also happy to talk without using words or phones. This silent way of communicating made them feel very close. It was as if nothing could separate them anymore. Every day, Arman would think about Zara, and she would answer back in his mind. They shared small things like how their day went, what they ate, or funny moments from their past. Even though they were far apart, sometimes in different parts of the city or even busy with work, their thoughts traveled to each other like a secret message only they could understand. One afternoon, Arman was sitting in a cafe watching people pass by when he thought, "I wish Zara was here with me." Suddenly, he heard her voice in his head saying, "Me too. I miss spending time with you." It made Arman smile. He realized this connection was not only about hearing words, but also feeling emotions and care without speaking. This was different from texting or calling. It was more personal and private. Zara felt the same way. She told Arman about her own days and worries. Sometimes when she was feeling sad or stressed, Arman's thoughts would reach her, offering comfort and hope. They became a support system for each other. This made their friendship stronger than ever. They understood each other without needing to explain everything aloud. But the silent conversations were not always easy. Arman noticed that sometimes when he was trying to focus on work or study, Zara's voice in his mind would come suddenly. It was like she was always there, even when he wanted to think about other things. This made concentrating difficult. At times, Arman felt tired because his mind was busy with two voices, his own and Zara's. Zara also felt this challenge. She told Arman that hearing his thoughts all the time sometimes made her feel overwhelmed. They both realized that this connection was powerful but needed limits. They had to learn when to connect and when to give each other space. Despite these difficulties, Arman could not stop thinking about Zara. His thoughts about her were like a constant light in his mind. He remembered her smile, her kindness, and how much she had always cared for him. This made him happy, but also nervous because he did not know how to say these feelings out loud. Zara sensed Arman's feelings, and without saying a word, she responded with warmth and understanding. This quiet understanding made their bond deeper. They were no longer just friends who shared memories. They had started to feel something more, though they had not spoken about it openly. One evening, Arman thought about a question he wanted to ask Zara. He sent the question silently. "Do you ever think about us differently now?" Zara replied, "Yes, I do. I feel closer to you than ever." This simple answer gave Arman hope. He wanted to protect this connection, to keep it safe from outside problems or misunderstandings. Because their secret was so special, Arman and Zara agreed not to tell anyone. They feared others might not understand or might react in a way that would hurt their friendship. This kept them careful and made their secret even more precious. They looked forward to the moments when they could be alone and think to each other freely. The bond also helped them heal old hurts. Arman remembered times when he felt lonely or sad, and Zara was always there silently to listen and care. Zara, too, shared her fears and dreams through their mental talks. They felt like they had found a way to be truly honest and open, even without speaking. Their silent friendship became a place of peace for both. When the outside world was loud or difficult, they would escape to this quiet connection where no one judged or interrupted. It was a place where they could be themselves with no fear. At the same time, both Arman and Zara knew this was something unusual and maybe even fragile. They wondered if this connection would last forever or if it was a moment that would pass. They hoped for the best, but prepared themselves for change. Armand sometimes thought about how life had changed since he started hearing Zara's thoughts. He felt lucky, but also challenged. He had to find a balance between this new closeness and the other parts of his life, his family, work, and friends. He worked hard to keep his daily routine going, but his mind often wandered back to Zara. Zara faced similar challenges. She had responsibilities and people around her who did not know about their connection. She kept their secret close and protected it like a treasure. Even when she was busy, she found comfort in knowing Armin was just a thought away. Their story showed how deep friendship and care could be, even without words. It was a reminder that connection is not always about what we say out loud, but what we feel inside. Armand and Zara's silent conversations became a symbol of trust, understanding, and hope. As days passed, Armand and Zara grew more confident in their special bond. They learned to listen not just to the words, but to the feelings behind them. They knew this connection was rare and something to be grateful for. It was more than just hearing thoughts. It was about feeling close, no matter the distance. Their journey had only just begun, but already it had changed both their lives. They discovered a new way to be together, even when apart. They found that sometimes the strongest ties are the quietest ones, spoken only in the heart. As time went by, Armin found it harder and harder to balance his life with the unusual connection he shared with Zara. At first, the idea of hearing her thoughts and sharing his own without speaking felt magical. But soon, the excitement was mixed with new challenges. Armin realized that having Zara's voice inside his mind almost all the time was not always easy. During his work hours, Armin often tried to concentrate on important tasks, but Zara's voice would sometimes interrupt his thoughts. Even when he tried to focus on meetings or assignments, he would suddenly hear her asking questions or sharing small jokes in his mind. At first, it made him smile. But as time went on, it became distracting. His work performance started to suffer, and his boss noticed he wasn't as focused as before. Armand felt frustrated. He did not want to lose his job or disappoint his family. He wanted to keep the special connection with Zara, but he also needed to be present in his daily life. This created an inner struggle. How could he manage to think about Zara without letting it control his entire day? Zara, too, faced her own difficulties. Sometimes, when she was with her family or friends, she could hear Armin's thoughts clearly. If he was worried or stressed, those feelings reached her, and she could not help but feel anxious, too. She realized that their connection was so strong that it was hard to separate their emotions. This made her wonder if this closeness was helping them or causing more stress. One afternoon, Zara shared her worries silently with Armin. She thought, "Is this connection a gift or a burden?" Armin understood immediately. He replied, "It feels like both sometimes." This honest conversation helped them realize that while their bond was special, it needed care and balance. As their silent talks continued, Armin began to notice how much he thought about Zara. It was not just simple friendship anymore. His feelings were growing deeper, but he was afraid to say them out loud. He worried about what Zara would think or if it would change their friendship forever. These thoughts made him anxious, and sometimes he even tried to distract himself. But it was difficult. Zara sensed Armin's confusion and responded gently through their mental connection. She told him that she cared about him and that it was okay to have feelings. This comforted Armin. Even though they had not spoken these words aloud, their thoughts were filled with kindness and understanding. This silent support became a safe place for both of them. But with these growing feelings, Armin also faced a new fear: the fear of losing Zara. Since their connection was private, he worried about what would happen if someone else found out, or if the bond disappeared suddenly. He felt the pressure of keeping their secret safe and protecting their friendship from the outside world. One evening, Armin sat quietly in his room, thinking deeply about their connection. He realized that while hearing Zara's thoughts was amazing, it also made him feel vulnerable. He could not hide his feelings or his worries because Zara always knew them. This made him feel exposed, but also closer to her in a way he never expected. At the same time, Armin's family and friends started to notice changes in his behavior. He was quieter than before, often lost in thought. Sometimes he smiled without reason or stared at nothing for a long time. His mother asked him if everything was all right, but Armin said he was fine and didn't want to explain. He was afraid they would not understand. Zara experienced similar reactions. Her friends noticed she was sometimes distracted and distant. They asked if she was stressed or sad. She smiled and said she was fine, not ready to tell anyone about their special bond. The more Armin and Zara tried to balance their connection with everyday life, the more they understood how rare and delicate it was. They knew that this silent communication was something precious, but also something they had to protect carefully. One day, Armin thought about telling Zara how much she meant to him, but the words stuck in his mind. Instead, he sent her a simple thought, "I want to be with you, not just in my mind, but in real life too." Zara felt the meaning behind these words. She thought back, "I want that too, but we must be careful." Their silent conversation showed their hope for the future and their fear of risking what they already had. It was a moment filled with both courage and hesitation. Armin began to realize that this connection was teaching him many things about friendship, love, and the importance of trust. He learned that strong bonds need time and patience. He also understood that sometimes feelings are hard to express, but they can be shared in many ways, even silently. Despite the difficulties, Armin never stopped thinking about Zara. His mind was often full of her smile, her voice, and the warmth she gave him. He felt lucky to have her in his life in such a unique way. Zara felt the same. Even in busy moments, she found comfort in knowing that Armin was thinking about her too. Their connection, though silent and invisible, was a light in both their lives. As this part of their story continued, Armin and Zara faced the challenge of living in two worlds, the world around them and the quiet world of their thoughts. They had to find a way to live fully in both without losing themselves. Their experience showed that love and friendship are not always simple or easy. Sometimes they come with challenges that test strength and patience. But when two people care deeply, even the hardest moments can bring them closer together. Armin and Zara's story was still unfolding, filled with hope, questions, and the silent promise to be there for each other, no matter what. As Armin and Zara's connection grew deeper, they both began to understand that their secret bond was something very rare and fragile. One day, something happened that forced them to think about the future and the risks of their unusual relationship. Armin was meeting a close friend at a small park. They were talking about life, work, and the usual things friends share. But suddenly, Armin heard Zara's voice in his mind, asking a question about something personal. The voice was clear, and Armin, without thinking much, replied silently, in his mind. To his surprise, his friend looked at him curiously, as if he noticed something strange in Armin's behavior. Armin felt nervous. He quickly changed the topic and tried to hide what was happening. He worried that if anyone found out about the connection with Zara, people might think he was strange, or worse. This small moment made Armin realize how difficult it would be to keep their secret safe. Later that night, Armin told Zara about what happened. They both agreed that they needed to be more careful. Zara said, "We must protect what we have. If others know, it might change everything." Armin nodded. He knew she was right. This connection was precious, and they could not risk losing it. But this conversation also made them think deeply about what their bond really meant. They asked themselves many questions. Was this connection just a special friendship? Or was It's something more? Could it become a real relationship? And if it did, how would they face the world? Armin felt his heart beating faster as he thought about Zara in a new way. He realized he wanted to be closer to her, not just in their silent talks, but in real life. But he was afraid to tell her directly. He worried about her answer and what it might mean for their friendship. Zara sensed Armin's feelings through their mental connection. She felt the same, but also worried about the risks. She said softly in his mind, "We must be patient. Let's find a way to control this connection first." They decided to try and control when they would connect. They agreed on times during the day when they would focus on their thoughts and times when they would live normally without their minds being linked. This helped Armin concentrate better on his work and daily life. It also gave Zara space to be herself without always feeling Armin's presence in her mind. Even with these rules, their feelings continued to grow. They both found themselves thinking about each other more and more, and it became harder to hide these emotions. Armin sometimes caught himself daydreaming about Zara, imagining what it would be like to hold her hand or talk face to face without words. One evening, they shared a silent conversation about what their future might look like. Armin said, "I want us to be together, but I don't want to lose this special connection." Zara replied, "I feel the same. We must find a way to be both close and free." This honest talk made their bond stronger. They understood that love is not just about being close all the time, but also about giving each other space to grow. At the same time, Armin's worries grew. He was afraid that if anyone found out, they might not understand their connection. He worried about being judged or losing Zara's friendship. Sometimes these fears made him sad and lonely. Zara comforted him silently. She told him that she believed in them and that their connection was strong enough to face challenges. This gave Armin hope and courage. They began to think about how to explain their bond if the time ever came. They dreamed of a day when they could share their story without fear. But for now, they kept their secret close and treasured it deeply. As they continued their journey, Armin and Zara learned important lessons about trust, patience, and love. They discovered that some connections are rare and must be handled with care. They also learned that true friendship and love can grow even in silence. Their story was not just about hearing thoughts or sharing feelings. It was about two people finding each other in a way no one else could see or understand. It was about hope, bravery, and the quiet promise to stand by each other no matter what. After many conversations and careful thinking, Armin and Zara finally found a way to live with their unique connection. They understood that their bond was special, but also needed limits. It was not healthy for them to be connected all the time. They had to balance their silent conversations with their real lives. They decided to control when to connect and when to focus on themselves. This decision helped both of them feel free and less overwhelmed. Armin could pay attention to his work and family without Zara's voice always in his mind. Zara could spend time with her friends and enjoy her hobbies without feeling tied to Armin's thoughts. Even though they were not connected all the time, their bond remained strong. Armin still thought about Zara often, but now he could enjoy those thoughts without feeling trapped. He knew when to open his mind and share with her, and when to be alone with his own feelings. Zara felt the same. She appreciated their connection, but also enjoyed the space to live her own life. This balance made their relationship healthier and happier. As time passed, Armin and Zara grew closer in many ways. They started to spend more time together in person. Their silent connection helped them understand each other better when they talked face to face. They could sense each other's feelings easily, making their conversations deeper and more meaningful. Their friendship became stronger, and their feelings for each other grew quietly but surely. They both knew that their connection was not just a strange gift, but something that brought joy and comfort. One day, Armin found the courage to tell Zara how much she meant to him. He spoke honestly, sharing his feelings out loud for the first time. Zara smiled and told him she felt the same. This moment was special. It showed that their silent bond had turned into a real, beautiful relationship. Even though they were happy, they still kept their unique connection a secret from others. They knew that people might not understand. But that did not matter to them. What mattered was the trust and love they shared. Armin and Zara's story was a reminder that love can come in many forms. Sometimes it is loud and clear, but sometimes it is quiet and invisible. Their connection showed that true friendship and love go beyond words. It lives in the heart and mind, quietly supporting and caring for each other. As they moved forward, Armin and Zara learned to live with their special gift. They faced challenges, but they did it together. They trusted each other and believed in their bond. Their story ended with hope and promise. They knew that life might bring changes, but their connection would always be a part of them. It was a silent promise to listen, understand, and care no matter what. This story of Armin and Zara teaches us that sometimes the deepest connections are those we cannot see or hear, but only feel inside. It shows that love and friendship can grow in silence and still be strong enough to change lives forever.